There are many different ways to outline a story, and it can be daunting, especially if you're a new writer trying to figure out how to do it. To help you, I've done some research and want to talk about 4 different methods that you can use to outline your story. It's important to keep in mind that once you get to a certain stage in your writing journey, outlines are only useful if you're able to turn them into words on a page. Some writers hate outlines, and that's okay. There is no right way to write a book, but others need an outline to write something with any sort of coherent storyline. The first method of outlining comes courtesy of Brandon Sanderson. I don't know what he calls it, but I call it the list method. This is done by making separate sections for character, plot, and world building. I call it the list method because when it comes to the character section, you make lists of things that need to happen for each character and their arc. As well as a list, you can write a paragraph about each character. When it comes to the plot section, you can look at your character arc lists that you've made and you can figure out how you can combine multiple character arcs from different characters into the same scene so that your scenes have a lot of depth and have multiple characters going through their arc at the same time. And you can go as detailed with this as you want. You can plan out each scene, or you can simply figure out what needs to happen in each scene and then move on from there. And this outline method, it works for some people because it allows them to get their thoughts on a page, and that's all they need. It allows them to think about the critical parts of their story and flesh them out before they get to that point in their story. There are different ways to do this method and different ways to organize your notes. You could have a notes section for your world building, or a section for your setting, or a separate section for your thoughts on your characters, and yet another section for your plot. I don't know if I said that twice, but it doesn't matter how you do it. You could even just throw all the sections into one section. If this is something that you think would appeal to you, then try it out. Figure out what works for you. The next outline is mostly just for plot. It's the classic 3-act structure. Act 1 is the setup act. Act 2 is confrontation, and Act 3 is resolution. Typically with 3-act, you're looking at a breakup of 25% for Act 1, 50% for Act 2, and another 25% dedicated to the resolution, Act 3. Act 1 sets up the normal for your main characters. It introduces the inciting incident and ushers in the point of no return. This moment is when your main character makes an active choice from which they cannot return. This choice can be thrust on them, but if it is thrust on them, it's important that your character ultimately makes an active choice on their own. An example would be when Luke decides to go with Obi-Wan after he returned to his home to find his family dead. He made that choice. Act 2 is the longest and hardest act to write. Act 2 is where your character starts to find themselves. The character faces trials, they meet some friends, and start to confront their enemies. All around, the stakes get higher. Then comes the midpoint where the character gets new information, has some sort of revelation, or there is some other massive event that throws the character into a more proactive role. After the midpoint comes a pinch point where the enemy gains the upper hand. After the pinch point comes a point of defeat for the character. This defeat makes the character lose hope before finding a new way forward. Act 3 starts with preparation for the final conflict, then slides into the climax. Then comes the aftermath that shows the character's new normal. 3-act structure is a nice one to use because it's a pretty proven method that has been around for a long time. Let me know in the comments below if you use 3-act when you outline your stories. The next method is the snowflake method, developed by Randy Ingermason. The snowflake method is a 10-step process that helps you connect all the plot elements of your novel, before you start writing. Let's take it step by step. First, you create a one-sentence summary that describes your novel. Second, you turn that sentence into a paragraph that details the setting, conflict, and the ending. Third, you create a one-page summary for each major character. This summary should outline their goals, motivations, and personal conflicts. Fourth, you expand each sentence from your second step into their own paragraphs. Step 5 is to create a profile for each major character. This involves writing down how the story unfolds from each character's point of view. Step 6 is writing a 4-page synopsis by expanding Step 4. This synopsis should include the entire story. Step 7 is to expand your character profiles from Step 5 into character Bibles. This would include your character's history, personal traits, physical description, and backstory. Step 8. Create a scene list based on your detailed synopsis in Step 6. Step 9 is to define the goal, conflict, and outcome of each scene. Step 10 is to write your first draft using all the information you've come up with using the Snowflake method. The Snowflake method is a great method for creating a comprehensive outline. It's a lot of work up front, but it helps ensure that there's no wasted space, even in your first draft. The final method for outlining that I want to introduce to you is what I call the first draft outline. This method works for those who claim that they don't like to use outlines. Those who don't like to use outlines simply use their first draft as the framework or their outline for their novel. If you want to continue learning how to write with me, hit the subscribe button and check out this video about why you should learn to outline even if you hate it.